Welcome, welcome. I'm Melissa Dilworth, the chair of the English department, and I would like to welcome you to Newton North's 5th annual Martin Luther King speech contest. So in his iconic I Have a Dream speech, Martin Luther King Jr. dared to dream for a better America. His powerful and rousing language reminded us of the fierce urgency of now. Through his famous speech, he inspired others to act rather than to wait, to cool off, or simply dream about change. In another speech where he protested the Vietnam War, King talked about the power of voice. He said, "And some of us who have already begun to break the silence of the night have found that the calling to speak is a vocation of agony. But we must speak, and we must rejoice as well. Perhaps a new spirit is rising among us. If it is, let us trace its movements and pray that our own inner being may be sensitive to its guidance. It is King's willingness to break the silence and to speak from his conscience that we honor today." So this is the first time, and the beginning of what we hope will be a great tradition here at North, that at least today, most of the sophomore class is here today. So I want to take a moment to congratulate all of you. As you all are very well aware, you were asked to create and deliver a 3-minute speech in which you motivated your peers to effect change in your world. In doing so, you worked on presence, articulation, voice. You wrote and revised so your words were powerful, clear, and compelling. You wrote for momentum. You wrote for purpose. You wrote to inspire us to make a difference, and that you did. So thank you for sharing all of your words with us and your bravery and courage to speak out. You sophomores know very well what King talked about when he said, "Speaking is a vocation of agony." I know y'all felt that agony when you were first given this assignment. But you persevered, you mustered the courage, and you all spoke up. First, you spoke to your classmates. From there, as you know, each class selected a winner to move on to the semifinal round. And those top 26 speakers competed to become some of the 5 finalists that you'll see today. I want to introduce to you the top 26 speakers of the sophomore class. Before we begin, I want to thank a few people. First off, I want to thank all of the sophomore teachers for their hard work and dedication to this long journey. So thank you all, sophomore teachers. I'd also like to thank our semifinalist judges who stayed after school so they could hear the 26 speeches and deliberate long into the evening with me to determine our 5 finalists: Ryan Reardon, Pam Pistoner, Tim Finnegan, Maureen Kavanaugh, and Colleen Moore. Thank you. I'd also like to thank the team behind the scenes who made this assembly possible: Tim Keefe and the Newton North custodians, Adam Brown and Michael Barrington Haber. And last but not least, Administrative Assistant Eileen Tamburini. She's the glue that holds this whole thing together and helped us manage the important behind-the-scenes tasks related to this contest and assembly. And now I'd like to introduce you to our judges who will evaluate today's speeches. Principal Henry Turner. Sophomore Dean Dave Turcotte. Head of Counseling Beth Swiderskis. Sophomore English teacher Maureen Kavanaugh. And is also the tradition, we have last year's winner, Declan Sung. One last note about today's speeches. The 5 finalists have practiced giving their speeches in classrooms and have had limited practice on this very stage. We are basically throwing a bit of a curveball at them by asking them to up their ante in this very real time. I ask that you silence all of your cell phones and you remain quiet throughout their speeches. So, are we ready? Yes. Come on, we need some applause. All right, so we drew names to determine the order of the speakers today. And I'd like to start by welcoming our first speaker, Jake Wright, with his speech, Man Up.
Hi, everyone. What makes a man a man? In this day and age, being a man means having no emotions. It means objectifying women. It means being independent. But it's really nothing more than a gender. I, for one, am not the most masculine man. I cry when I watch Titanic. I can sing along to most Adele songs, and I love my little sister to death. But does that all mean I'm not manly? I'm lucky enough to be comfortable being myself, but some guys aren't so lucky. Some guys are so afraid of being judged, they stay locked in the prison of toxic masculinity. They are so emotionless that they drown in stress. They are so insecure that they feel okay assaulting women. But masculinity doesn't make you happy. Being yourself does. As a boy, it's not uncommon to be told, stop playing like a girl, as if that's a bad thing. Femininity in men is seen as something to fix. This builds a culture of misogyny, homophobia, and sexism. It's not just that, though. If femininity in men is a flaw, what are we saying about women? The inferiority we associate with femininity allows many men to believe that women exist for male purposes. This lets them feel okay when they objectify women without a second thought, dismissing it as just a joke or locker room talk. It's not a joke. It's not funny. I don't want my sweet little sister to live in fear of sexual predators for her whole life. From a very young age, boys are also shown that they are dominant. I mean, look at all the past presidents of the United States. Look at a list of the 100 richest people alive. How many of them are men? Men fall under the false assumption that they can do whatever they want to women. As a result, 70% of women will experience physical and or sexual abuse by an intimate partner in their lifetime. That's 700 of our classmates, 700 friends, 700 daughters, 700 victims of a broken system. Look around. Do you really wish abuse upon the majority of the amazing young women in this room? Yet another problem caused by toxic masculinity is men's refusal to seek assistance. If guys ask for help, it's seen as a fatal flaw. Imagine a little boy who had a tough first day of kindergarten. He comes home in tears, but rather than comfort him, his dad just looks at him and tells him to man up. Letting down your parents hurts, so next time that boy has a tough day at school, he won't go to his dad for help, and he'll try to deal with his feelings alone. This expectation of independence is part of the reason why 4 in 5 suicides are by men. Terrified, lonely men who are too scared of losing their manly status to go to therapy or even cry once in a while. It shouldn't be like that. Being strong shouldn't be avoiding help, it should be knowing when you need it. So, for the sake of that little boy, for the sake of those 4 out of 5, let's change what it means to man up. In the end, toxic masculinity is just that. toxic. It's time we stop perpetuating these harmful ideas about the ideal man, because if we don't, more guys will feel alone, more women will be attacked, more beautiful lives will be lost. So, all you great guys out there, do me a favor and be real men. Be respectful, caring, genuinely good people so we don't have to worry about a new generation of Roy Moores, of Matt Lauers, of Kevin Spacey's, of Harvey Weinstein's, of Donald Trump's. We have an opportunity to change the world, and it's rooted in the understanding that masculinity does not have to be toxic. It's about time we take the mask off of masculinity and put the man back in human. Thank you.
Next up, we have Alex Weimer with his speech, Yes, I Am Different.
I'm autistic. Most people don't know that about me. No one's ever asked me if I'm autistic, and when I tell someone I am, they have no idea until that moment. The name for my type of autism is sensory integration disorder. It was only classified as autism in the late 2000s after I'd already been diagnosed. Sensory integration disorder increases my senses. For instance, I have a better sense of hearing than most people. For the most part, better just means louder, but I've learned how to use it to pick out individual conversations between people in a large room. I have a different sense of pain than most people. Bigger hits will hurt me less, while smaller ones can hurt me more. I have more extreme emotional mood swings. This is the Achilles heel. I could go from happy to enraged by a small thing that wouldn't really distract anybody else. Needless to say, that kind of emotion, that kind of reaction, that made me a target. Bullying had been a problem the first 3 years of elementary school, but in 4th grade, everything exploded. I was put in a class with all my worst bullies from prior years. The teacher would always look the other way. I had one friend that year, and even with them, I wasn't safe from the teasing. Because in 4th grade, you can't have a friend that's a girl that's not a girlfriend. There were many incidents that year. I punched a kid's glasses clean off his nose because he was provoking me. Other kids tried kicking me under the table. Once, I was physically dragged back to my classroom by my teacher for running in the hallways to try and hide from a bully in the bathroom. But the worst, the absolute worst of all of these incidents has to be that one on the playground. I spent hours after school running in fear from a kid a grade ahead of me. He was only chasing me because my worst bully told him to. So while he and his bully friend laughed, I ran. While that kid a grade ahead of me was pounding on my heels, I ran. While I was fearing for my very life, I ran. So what's the point? Why was I singled out from the crowd? Is it because I'm different? Well, everyone's different in their own respects. We each have our own hobbies, our own identities, our own lives, and still, I was singled out for how my brain handles my emotions. I was seen as a different kind of different. For all the aspiring musicians out there, it said that Mozart was on the spectrum. And another spectrum creator, film director Tim Burton, once said, "One person's craziness is another person's reality." Clearly, autism can help shape beautiful pieces of art. So help us out. With help, an autistic kid like me can and has overcome bullying and a year of pain. That kid can become one of the great minds of our times. So help us out. Donate to an autistic charity. Make friends with an autistic kid. Just say hi if you pass one of us in the hallway. My mother once heard another mother say, "One day, an autistic kid is going to cure cancer. Because once they latch onto something, they don't let go." Yes, I am different. But just maybe, I can help create a better future for us all. Thank you.
Next up, we have Layla Davis with her speech, I Am Not.
Imagine this. It's the first day back from February break in 7th grade at FA Day. Now, over break, I'd gotten braids. Not cornrows like the ones you get on vacation, but box braids, the ones you can get extensions with. Now, coming back to school with this hairstyle, I was unrecognizable from the back. My teachers had to do a double take to make sure they didn't have a new student. But the biggest thing that I experienced was that everyone, people I didn't even know, thought it was okay to start touching my braids. What made them think it was okay to touch my hair? Now, I am not the first person to say this, and I probably won't be the last. But to paraphrase celebrated Black author James Baldwin, I am not your Negro. Now, this isn't meant to shame anyone, but rather to enlighten everyone to the problem at hand. Once, I needed to be enlightened too. Truth is, I am just starting to accept my natural hair. Black girls are taught from a very young age that their natural hair isn't beautiful, that they need to change it in order to be considered even slightly beautiful. For years, I would beg my mom to straighten my hair. When I was old enough, I started spending hundreds of dollars every few months to treat my hair with heavy chemicals to tame its natural state. My hair has so much heat damage just from trying to make it into the standard of beauty. But I need to accept my hair for the way that it is and stop trying to change it because it is beautiful. So much judgment has fallen upon Black hair that Black people have started judging other Black people for the way that they wear their hair. When I had my braids, my own grandfather, who is Black, told me that he didn't like it and that I should stick to my usual straightened style. People want to sit around and judge Black people for the way that they wear their hair, but then when someone famous like Khloe Kardashian posts a picture of herself on Instagram with her hair in bantu knots, everyone loves it and it becomes the trend. This is appropriation, the action of stealing from a culture not your own in order to make it your own. People don't understand that with Black hair, there is a backstory behind every hairstyle. Cornrows, for example. They're not just something you get on vacation in Mexico or the Caribbean. Black people use this hairstyle as a way to keep their hair clean. In 2018, more and more Black people are learning how to accept their natural hair. That acceptance is not an invitation for you to gawk at or touch without their permission. I don't know what makes people think it's okay to touch my hair. Think about all the living things you pet without having to ask. Dog, cat, hamster. It's so crazy that I have to say this, but Black people aren't pets. So what makes you think it's okay to treat me like one? It's degrading. If you want to touch my hair, come ask me. Because I know there are some people who are genuinely curious about things that are different from them. And that's okay, because that's how we learn. That said, it is my right to say no. Because I am not your Negro, so you cannot touch my hair without my consent. I am not your Negro, so don't judge me for how I wear my hair. I am not your Negro, so don't turn my hairstyle into your trend. I am not your Negro. I'm your classmate. I am your equal. I am Layla Davis. Thank you.
Next up, we have Amit Balab with his speech, Being American.
I was 8 years old when I realized I was different. My friends and I were lining up after recess when I announced, I'm going to be the president when I grow up. My friends laughed. Confused, I looked around for answers. My best friend turned to me and said, you have to be American. American. What does it mean to be American? That is a question which I've struggled with for a long time. The dictionary defines American as relating to or characteristic of the United States or its inhabitants. By that definition, I qualify. I am an inhabitant of America. In 3 years, I'll be allowed to vote. But not everybody would agree with that. not everybody believes that Americans can look and sound differently. When people ask me, "What are you?" I'm stuck between two answers. Sure, my grandparents are from India, and my skin reflects that. But at the same time, I was born in Boston, and I've only ever lived here in Newton. So the other day, when an anonymous comment on the internet told me to go back to where you come from, I didn't know how to react. I come from here. This country is my home. I have a lot of Indian friends abroad who I meet when I travel. Whenever I see them, they ask me endless questions about life in America. To them, America is the highest goal. They work hard in school so that they can come here and live the American dream. But this past year, that dream has become a nightmare. On February 22nd, a man in Kansas walked into a bar and shot 2 innocent Indian men. He said he was running the Arabs out of our country. It's stories like these that are changing my friends' perceptions of America. Many of them are now giving up on their American dream, because to them, America is no longer a land of opportunity. It's a land of fear. Whenever I get the dreadful breaking news alert on my phone, alerting me of yet another mass shooting, I mourn for the victims and offer them a silent prayer. And then I wait for the description of the shooter, thinking, please don't be brown. This is because I know that with every brown shooter, society pushes me further and further away from being American. That somehow the actions of a few deranged individuals can severely impact the perception of millions of others. I urge my fellow classmates to look within to create change. Just like my friends who assumed I was born far away, we all have bias. It's part of human nature. But we can work towards eliminating it. So the next time you meet someone new, don't let their appearance alone dictate where you think they come from. Because being American is about so much more than how you look. It's about liberty, equality, and triple-decker cheeseburgers. That's the common link between us. Together, we can begin to erase the labels we place on individuals. Together, we can redefine what it means to be American. Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Eugene Liu with his speech, Teachings from Our Past.
When we think of history, we think of long lectures reciting stories of our past that has little association with present-day affairs. History seems to be an academic antiquity that has lost its relevance in a modern society. As a person who loves history, I'm here to convince you otherwise. I strongly believe that if we learn from our history, we can significantly better ourselves and our society. Understanding history can help mediate our conflicts. Our political climate today is abundant with cases where we fail to recognize our opponent's point of view, and instead let personal prejudice and assumptions dictate our judgments. For example, if we examine the context of the Korean War, we could better understand North Korea's perspectives and animosity towards the free world. By no means does history justify the current North Korean regime, but understanding these historical events provides us a gateway to find creative solutions in resolving our differences. Imagine the great leaps in our diplomacy if we learned from our shared history. By appreciating our past, we also learn from and expand upon our historical successes. One of our nation's greatest achievements is the women's suffrage movement. Brave pioneers such as Susan B. Anthony fought for what they believed to be fundamental human rights. Because of their perseverance, their sacrifice, our society today is more enlightened and productive. Despite these impactful accomplishments, women today still struggle in the pursuit for equal salary, social status, and professional advancement. We must continue on the path paved by our forefathers, reshape their success, into our own legacy. History enables us to learn from our mistakes. The Spanish-American philosopher George Santayana once said, "Those who cannot learn from history are doomed to repeat it." During World War II, innocent Japanese Americans were forced to leave their homes, to be separated from their families, and to be forced into internment camps, not because they were the enemy, but because they share the same ethnicity as the enemy. This type of racial profiling manifests itself today in the form of racism towards Arab Americans, who are accused of being terrorists, similar to how Japanese Americans were once viewed as spies. In 2018, we view the injustice towards Japanese Americans as inhumane. Should discrimination of other minorities be any different? We must reflect upon our past for a better future. We study history to understand the past and use it to inform the present and navigate the future. History should not be viewed as an obsolete and academic subject relevant only in classrooms. History provides us wisdom from our successes and mistakes, inspiration and unity in the face of adversity, and insightful resolve to overcome conflicts. So I urge you to understand and remember our history, to learn from our collective mistakes and successes. Use our history to make history. Thank you.
All right, before we excuse our judges to go make their tough decision, let's give all of these 5 finalists. All right, so judges, this is your cue. I don't envy you. While the judges are deliberating, I would like to also honor the semifinalists who are up here today. I really wish that you could hear every one of their speeches. They are profound, they are moving, they are insightful, they are inspiring. Unfortunately, we don't have time for you to hear them all, but I've asked every one of them to come up today and tell you who they are, the topic of their speech, what they wrote about, and why. Okay?
Hi, my name is McCarthy, and my speech is titled "The Truth Behind the Brand." It focuses on the horrible and unjust working conditions in sweatshops all over the world, and I chose this topic because it's truly a huge issue that affects so many lives every day. Many people in our country and places all over the world do not fully understand the labor that goes into the making of their clothing and products that they use in their everyday lives. So I chose to write about this topic because I really want to bring awareness, raise awareness.
Hi, my name is Dagny Griggs, and the title of my speech was A Neurodiverse Society. And my speech was about how, when it comes to disabilities, people divide society into the normal world and the disabled world. And I hope that, despite a tense social environment, we as high schoolers can lessen that divide and stop treating neuroatypical people differently based solely on their neurological profiles as opposed to their actual personalities.
Hi, I'm Josh Lev. My speech was called Seeing Beyond, and my goal was to warn the public about the dangers of book censorship in America.
Hi, I'm Hannah Steinberg, and the title of my speech was No Thank You, and the topic was sexual harassment. I wrote my speech because I believe that our generation can be the one to eliminate the normality of sexual harassment in our world, and I never want to have to be afraid to walk down my own street again.
Hi, I'm Shireen Serial. The title of my speech was A Message for the Class of 2020, and it's about handling depression while being a student. Thank you.
Jezebel Perez, and my speech was based on drug influence at our school and how it affects students and how it affected me in my past, and that people should think more responsibly of their actions.
Hi, my name is Erica Bock, and I wrote my speech on the importance of self-expression and finding your passion and how it can give you a sense of identity in a community where we all feel like we don't belong, and it can give us a feeling of belonging, and it was called Find Yourself Eventually. Hi, I'm Lisa Haller, and my speech was called My Brother's Keeper, and it was on my brother with autism, and basically it just encourages people to stop using derogatory terms for autism and to try and think and change the way they think and treat people with autism. So. My name is Ravina Poole. My speech is called World War U, and it's about how depression is commonly mistaken for an emotion or a feeling, when in reality it is a mental disorder and a war we wage against everything. So as someone who was diagnosed as have depression, and someone who uses self-harm as a coping strategy, I encourage all of you to be that person who can listen to what we have to say without questioning if we've tried being happy yet. My name is Jezebel Roach, and the title of my speech was Addition by Subtraction, and it's about how we are categorized based on numbers such as GPA, social media followers, and weight, but in reality, they are meaningless. And I strongly encourage you all to detach yourself from these numbers by taking social media breaks, not being hung up on bad grades, and hopping off the scale. Stop counting numbers and start focusing on what really counts.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Lyons. My speech was called Suicidal, and it's about toxic masculinity and how it affects men. I was inspired to write this speech when my friend told me he was going to kill himself. So he was like seriously depressed and suicidal, and his parents didn't even know a single thing about it. And this is a huge problem in our society, and we need to stop like objectifying.
I'm McCarthy, and I wrote about why participation trophies should be abolished all over the country. Yeah.
Alright, so I'm Aaron Neville, and the title of my speech was See Me, and I wrote about race and stereotypes, and like how, as a community, we need to stop judging people based off their appearance, but by who they really are as a person.
My name is Nathan Norval. The title of my speech was Keep Your Eyes on the Prize, and it's about personal goals. So do everything you can in school to have a good outcome. Yep.
My name is Nicholas Kraske, and the title of my speech is The Place We Love. My speech was about net neutrality, and I talked about the effects it had on everyone in the new world, why it's important, and why we truly need it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Millie Ferguson. The title of my speech was The Words You Say. My speech was about racial microaggressions. Everyday comments or stereotypes about race that you might think are harmless could actually be hurtful. I wanted to ask my peers to think before they speak, because racism affects not just me, but all of us.
Hello, my name is Hannah Sharouz, and my speech was entitled Recrafting Competition, which was about high school competition and the need to reform it. I wrote about this because I believe that we need to create a society in which we can celebrate each other's accomplishments and realize that our journey as students is more than outperforming our peers.
it's about the effect social media has on our mental, physical, and social health. And I wrote this to show the importance that the impact that social platforms and connections have on us, and the importance of face-to-face interactions.
I see our judges have returned, so I'm going to invite them on out. And before they announce their decisions, I just want to take one more moment to recognize everyone up here. So thank you all for... I also want to invite all of the finalists, the semifinalists, and the family members who are here today to the English office up in room 359, immediately following this assembly for a reception. And now, here's Principal Turner.
Well, I just want to echo Ms. Dilworth's sentiments that the five of you did a fantastic job. You were clear, you talked about very important issues. Your stage presence for only practicing a couple times up here in front of this large crowd of your peers was just fantastic. And I just want to echo one of the ways to honor Dr. King's life is to do some sort of act of service. This weekend, I think your calls to action were great ways for us to even think about ways that we can serve our community. So that is my message to you, is to think about ways that you can help your community this weekend and honor Dr. King's life. Okay, without further ado, I will announce the runner-up and then the winner of this year's MLK Sophomore Speech Contest. The runner-up with the speech, "I Am Not," Layla Davis. And the winner of this year's contest with "Being American," Amit Bilal. Congratulations to you two, congratulations to the five of you, all of you, and all of you for completing the sophomore speech. Important event. Thank you and have a great weekend, everyone.